watching Primetime. I'm Tamanna Inamdar.
And my name is Ayush Alavadi. Let's have a look at today's headlines. Opposition leaders led by the Congress file a notice to impeach the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra. Finance Minister calls the notice a revenge petition.
TDP Chief and Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu says BJP betrayed Andhra Pradesh on special category status in an exclusive interview with Bloomberg Quint. Also hits out at Amit Shah for questioning his governance.
Indian markets clocked the longest weekly gains in nearly 3 months. The rupee hits a 13-month low against the dollar a day after the MPC minutes showed a leaning towards a hawkish policy stance.
The race for Fortis healthcare takes yet another turn. All binding bids are referred to a committee, even as another bidder enters the fray with a non-binding bid. Well, straight on to the top story. Leaders of 7 political parties met the Vice President of India and Rajya Sabha Chairman Wenger Naidu to file an impeachment motion seeking the removal of Chief Justice of India Deepak Mishra. This is the first time in the history of independent India that a motion seeking this kind of a removal has been filed.
We wish this day had never come. Since Chief Justice Deepak Mishra was appointed to the high office, there have been situations when questions have been raised about the manner in which he has dealt with certain cases and taken certain administrative decisions. There have been internal rumblings resulting in open discord amongst judges in the Supreme Court.
Now, Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister and TDP Chief Chandrababu Naidu launched a 12-hour hunger strike today, demanding justice for the state from the centre. Naidu, who turned 69 today, has been demanding special category status for the state as well as implementation over the Andhra Pradesh Reorganisation Act. The TDP had recently walked out of the BJP-led NDA after the centre rejected its demand for according special category status.
In fact, I caught up with Chandrababu Naidu at his Andhra Pradesh Secretariat and spoke with him extensively on political developments, how and why he stepped out of the NDA and what he expects to happen in 2019. But we'll play out this one clip first where Naidu says that the BJP betrayed Andhra Pradesh on special category status. He also denied BJP President Amit Shah's allegation and questioned Amit Shah's experience in saying that Chandrababu Naidu's governance was suspect. The central government claims, and the BJP president in his letter also claims, that the Andhra Pradesh government has utilized only 12% of the funds sanctioned so far. So how can they sanction more?
What I am asking, any time this Amit Shah was in government in central, what is his experience? He is talking about governance with me. I am a senior most politician in this country. For combined Andhra Pradesh, I was CM for 9 years. And also I was opposition leader for 10 years. Today I am the Chief Minister for 4 years. I created National Front, United Front, NDA. I was in NDA. I fought with UPA, everything. Is he teaching me governance? What is talking? You must have clarity in thinking. You should not talk like that. We have spent all the money. We have sent utilization certificates to Government of India. That the BJP party is saying they are all fake. What are you talking in democracy? We are dealing one state government with central government. In between a political party came, you are talking this type of unnecessary things. What is the cooperative federalism? What is the center-state relations? I showed everything in Delhi on PowerPoint presentation. All utilization certificates, after spending money, we have sent back, everything I have shown. Even our Honorable Prime Minister's speech, when he was candidate for Prime Minister candidate for election campaign, I showed everything.
All right, and you can watch that entire conversation up ahead on the show on Primetime Debate tonight, 8:30 p.m. onwards. That exclusive and very detailed interview with Chandrababu Naidu. Well, let's get back to that top story where a petition has been moved for the impeachment of the Chief Justice of India by 7 parties led by the Congress parties. Soli Sorabji, eminent jurist, joins us now over the phone line for his views on what is happening in the judiciary. Very good evening to you, Mr. Sorabji, and thank you for speaking with us here on Bloomberg Quint. How do you see this development? The Congress, in its released communication, says that they had no choice but to do this because the entire judiciary was under question.
I don't think so at all. Impeachment motion is not the answer. They can be done in other ways. This is only to browbeat the judges, to send the message that if you don't pass orders which to our liking and which we think are correct, then you have to face the humiliation and embarrassment of an impeachment process. In this case, it's very clear. Impeachment motion cannot be passed because I haven't got the numbers. Then why bring it, if not to embarrass the judges? I don't think there was really... they've done great damage to the system in the sense they've affected the common person, the litigants' confidence in the administration of justice and the free and fearless administration of justice by the Supreme Court. That's what bothers me. That's what they have done. And where's the question of saying that they should, Chief Justice Mishra did certain thing in a certain way? It's meaningless. It must be proven judicial misbehavior. There's no misbehavior in this sense. You can bring out cases after a number of months and years. That's not doing any good to our judiciary, any good to our country, and I'm afraid it should be now resolved or put an end to.
What do you make, sir, of the fact that prominent Congress leaders who are also very senior lawyers themselves, including Dr. Manmohan Singh, P. Chidambaram, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, have reportedly not signed this petition?
Yes, I welcome that. I admire that, appreciate that. Because they realize the temporary political gains are not worth it. When you look at the ultimate damage that can be done to the institution. And to that extent, I very much welcome what former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and Salman Khurshid have said. And I believe Chidambaram also has not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just one last question, Sam. The issues within the judiciary have now come to the fore. Senior judges have also spoken about them. You have, of course, given the view that impeachment is definitely not the answer and would harm the institute and nothing more. But do you see a need to resolve these issues at the earliest, and do you think enough of an effort is being made?
They should always rise to the occasion. The judges should resolve it themselves. We don't, without anyone's external interference. They should rise to the occasion, quarterly discuss what the views are, pros and cons are. I'm sure the Chief Justice will also respond, and should be resolved by the judiciary within the judicial system, without any interference or without any gratuitous advice from others. Okay?
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Soli Sorabji there with his views on a development that may be political but is also very important, and a constitutional question has been raised on it. Let's speak a bit about Indian markets. Indian markets ended the week absolutely flat as losses in ICICI Bank and State Bank of India offset gains in TCS. Both the Sensex and the Nifty clocked their longest weekly gains in nearly 3 months. Aga Vakil now sums up the day's market action.
Well, not unexpected. We are looking at consolidation in the major Indian equity indices, starting off with the Nifty as well as the Sensex, which closed marginally in the red. But in terms of the big sectoral movers, we saw tremendous strength coming in the Indian information technology sector, which is reflected in the 4.8% up move in the Nifty IT index. On the other hand, several mid-cap PSU banks bear down on the Nifty PSU banking index. And in the IT index, so we did see tremendous strength coming in TCS as well as Infosys. In fact, TCS is on its way to become the first $100 billion company in India. Of course, we'll have to wait and watch for that, and the only reason why that didn't happen because of the fact that we saw the rupee weaken against the dollar. But moving on, we also saw weakness in some banking counters. So we had weakness in Yes Bank as well as ICICI Bank, both these declining by as much as 3%. In the mid-cap space, what we saw was, well, mixed trends coming in. So while we did see Avanti fees move up by as much as 7.7% on the news of the board considering a stock split, we also saw a lot of weakness in Eveready Industries, and this was because of penalties coming in on account of cartelization. That said, we're going to wait and watch as to whether or not we do move out of consolidation, and the only thing that can move the needle for these markets for now will be the earnings, which have been very strong so far.
The Indian rupee plunged to a 13-month low of 66.1 today. The fall is due to the hawkish tone that emerged out of the minutes of the MPC meeting that came out yesterday. Strengthening of the dollar and the rise in its demand from importers also put pressure on the rupee. R. Sivakumar of Axis Mutual Fund expects rising crude prices to keep interest rates elevated in India and the currency under pressure.
The larger impact that oil has is not directly on the CPI inflation, but through the channel of currency. We have seen as oil prices have gone up that the rupee has again gone back to 66 levels. And what that means is that you could have rates staying elevated in India on that count alone. And I think if the rupee continues to weaken, we could have rates remaining elevated, and that in turn could cause RBI to get more concerned about the trajectory of inflation and rates rather than just the pure level of oil itself.
Well, the street cheered TCS today after it beat fourth quarter profit estimates comfortably. Tata Consultancy Services has also become the first Indian company to hit a market capitalization of 6.5 lakh crore rupees. Jayesh tells us if TCS is all set to become the first Indian company to have a $100 billion market cap.
Now, TCS gained more than 7% intraday, and in the course of that, what happened is the market cap of the company has now inched towards the $100 billion mark. It listed in about 2005, and from there, the journey of TCS has been on your screen. So what essentially it shows is that the blue line is the market cap of the company, while the white line is the various benchmarks that we have been tracking in terms of the market cap, and the red line denotes the dates or the time period during which those milestones had been hit. 2008. Now, after listing in 2004, in 2005, it actually hit the $10 billion mark. And from there, it took about 5 years or more for it to hit the $25 billion mark in market capitalization. Post that, another 3 years, and we had a $50 billion company in TCS. And have a look at the period from 2013 to 2014. In a year, it actually added $25 billion in market capitalization to become a $75 billion company in 2014. And post that, what actually happened today was that it has hit nearly 98.5 or $99 billion for the market cap of TCS. And as per my calculations, if the stock price hits a high or surges above 3477 per share, we will have India's first $100 billion company.
Well, the race for Fortis Healthcare just took a new turn, with all binding bids being referred to a committee. What's interesting, though, is another bidder entered the fray with a non-binding bid. Yatin Motha sums up the developments.
Well, yesterday we had the Fortis Healthcare board evaluating the entire, issue that has been going on from, the EGM, which has been called for from the minority shareholders front, to evaluating the bids which are coming in. Now, yesterday the board made it very clear that they will be evaluating only the bids which are binding in nature, which means that till now, out of the 5 bids which have come, only 2 are binding, which is one from the Manipal group, and one is from the Burman and the Munjal family office. Now, the management also said that they will be constituting a committee in which there will be independent people which will be evaluating the entire transaction as well as the bids which are suitable for the company. They have also appointed Standard Chartered as an investment banker who will be assisting the committee in order to take some decisions. Of course, the latest news which came out was the bid coming in from Radiant, which is basically a healthcare major backed by KKR. Now, Radiant has given an offer which is probably one of the highest in terms of the per share valuation being offered to Fortis Healthcare, which is basically 165 rupees per share. Of course, something on the lines of what Manipal proposed earlier on was, on the similar lines. Radiant also has come out with an offer wherein they will be demerging the hospital business, which they value at 126 rupees per share, and also they will be buying stake from Fortis Healthcare into their subsidiary SRL at a valuation of 3,600 crores, and that translates into a per share valuation of 39 rupees. So adding both the valuation for SRL and the hospital business, we have a figure of 165 rupees. Of course, the bid is non-binding in nature, and hence the board earlier clarified that they will not be considering any non-binding bids. So very important to see how really the bidding really shapes up for Fortis Healthcare moving forward, and more importantly, how do the minority shareholders vote once the EGM notice comes in and the resolution is put to vote, which is basically removing the directors of Fortis Healthcare, which are presently managing the entire issue.
Allowing 5 companies to do due diligence will only harm Fortis health businesses, as it is in urgent need of capital for functioning. That's the word coming in from Mohit Burman, one of the bidders for Fortis. Speaking to Bloomberg Quint's Menika Doshi, Burman has added that their offer will save Fortis's business.
I believe that if they do that, the business will have a problem surviving, because as the case is at the moment, the business needs money as ASAP, and therefore, if they go through this whole process of having 6 people do due diligence, it could take another 3 to 4 months. And it's not that this asset hasn't been on the block for some time. I mean, TPG and Manipal have been doing due diligence on this asset for the last 12 months. So these bidders who've just come into the fray right now, I mean, what were they doing for the last 1 year?
That's a fair question. The second question I want to ask you is, how much confidence do you have in the existing board? Whilst they have appointed an advisory committee to advise them on what to do, the eventual final decision will be the board's. And some shareholders have raised this issue of lack of confidence in the board and sought an EGM to, in fact, sack the entire existing board and replace them. Do you have confidence in the board to take the right decision right now?
Well, see, at this point of time, the board is what it is, and as far as we are concerned, they are the board we need to convince and talk to. And the stance they've taken is that the bid should be evaluated by an independent committee, which we are very glad. We are happy to prove our case in front of this committee, and therefore, once the committee decides which is the best bid, we have to go with whatever the board decides finally with which bid they go with. Eventually, the shareholders will decide. I mean, the committee will only make a recommendation which the board will put to the shareholders, but eventually any recommendation that goes to the shareholders, as you know, we need 75% resolution.
The Gujarat High Court has acquitted former BJP Minister Maya Kodnani in the 2002 Naroda Patia riot case in which 97 people were killed by a mob. The court observed that Kodnani should be given the benefit of doubt due to the inconsistency in the statements of the witnesses. The court upheld the conviction of ex-Bajrang Dal leader Babu Bajrangi. Special Court of SIT cases had earlier given Kodnani 28 years in prison. The rioting took place on February 28, 2002 in the Naroda Patia area of Ahmedabad, a day after the torching of the Sabarmati Express at Godhra, which had triggered statewide riots.
Although the Gujarat High Court has convicted, or rather confirmed, you see, the conviction of several others, including Babu Bajrangi and all that. But it seems that the High Court was not convinced with regard to the adequacy of evidence against Maya Kodnani. Now, if the conviction has been reversed, the High Court certainly must be having some material to justify the reversal.
Today, whether it's Maya Kodnani, whether it's Colonel Purohit, all of them feel relieved because court has given them breather, because there is absolutely no evidence, and it was purposely, maliciously, by Congress and UP government, they were implicated without any evidence.
Now, in wake of the Kathua rape case, the centre today proposed to introduce a death penalty for rape of minors till the 12 years of age. In a letter submitted to the Supreme Court, the government stated that it has already begun amending the POCSO Act. This comes in response to a PIL filed by an advocate seeking maximum sentence of death penalty for child sex offenders. The matter will be heard in the Apex Court on April 27th.
All right, let's take a quick look at the U.S. markets. Wall Street opened in the red today. The Dow Jones and S&P 500 fell to nearly 0.3 and 0.2% respectively. You can check them out on your screens right now. The Nasdaq registered losses, as did the S&P 500. Now, shifting focus to the commodities market, oil price falls in after U.S. President Donald Trump criticized the OPEC and said crude prices are artificially very high. Brent is currently trading around the levels of $73 per barrel, and NMX is at $67.79 per barrel, nearly $68 per barrel. Now, 22 years is a long time in a sport. More so when you're the manager of a top football club with a rich heritage. Arsene Wenger has decided to call it quits as manager at Arsenal Football Club at the end of this season. He was at the helm when the club became the only club in the Premier League era to be unbeaten through an entire campaign. Famously known as the Invincibles, he also oversaw the move to the new stadium and endured a barren run. Here's a report on the man who revived Arsenal and gave a fresh lease of life to English football. it's the end of an era for football fans all over the world, and especially that's someone who revolutionized the business model of football. But Tamanna, you've been busy this week and had a very interesting chat with the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh.
Yes, Chandrababu Naidu, the TDP chief, about a month ago walked out of the National Democratic Alliance over special category status for Andhra Pradesh. Well, I've had an opportunity to speak with him extensively on the issue and, of course, what he thinks will happen before 2019, where a lot of strong regional players are now coming together to form an anti-BJP front. All of that coming up in the conversation next. Do tune in.
Sorry, I'm late. क्या हुआ?
कुछ नहीं यार, just working on my expansion plan.